£54, Jeff Fenwick's charge. Brock Jarvis is 20-0. George Kambosos with one of the performances of the year last year. Sky Nicholson making her debut in San Diego next weekend. Ebony Bridges fighting for a title in 5 weeks' time. And Demsey McKean, Darren, is looking a very solid contender at this point in his career. And well, you'd expect him to look good in victory tonight. And if he can do, he should be pushing on to slightly different level to this later on this year.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him live in the flesh. I've heard good things about him from what I've seen in the past on YouTube, etc. He's very nimble for a big guy, puts his shots together well, works behind a lovely southpaw jab, as we can see there, varies it up to the body. But his opponent Bracamonte, he's a tough mutt. We see him. Well, I mean, the memory I have of Bracamonte was against Dave Allen. He got caught with a lovely straight left hand from McKean there. And he showed his toughness and heart in that fight, but most of the time when he does lose, he gets stopped. So it'd be down to Demsey to force the action, continue behind that jab and try and detonate that big left hand of his.
Joe, of course, you know just what it takes to stay in the mix with the lads in Tony Sims' gym. They're some of the best, if not the best conditioned in the country. He's spoken about how much he's already come on as a fighter. Just give us an insight as to what kind of work you are put through on a weekly basis.
Yeah, it's not easy at all. I think, well, it's not. I think I know there's a lot of fighters have come through our doors, and they've tried to keep up with honor runs and trying to impress, and they to be honest, they can't hack it. But Demsey have slotted right in, and he's settled in lovely. And for a big fella, he's very, very, very athletic.
He's doing the right thing here, just getting behind that stiff southpaw jab. We know that Bracamonte needs to make this a dogfight, really, as he did against Dave Allen. We know he is heavy-handed. He just misses with a right hand there, and he's not difficult to hit clean, but he is quite difficult to break down. And McKean is going to have to go about this with precision and probably a little bit of patience here.
Yeah, I think going wide round the guard would be a good option. He keeps a really tight, high guard, but there are gaps around the side of Bracamonte, who lets his hands go. A bit too much circling of the ring at the minute. Demsey McKean, this is where he wants to be. Hold the centre of the ring, work behind that jab as he's doing now. He's just seen it all before, Bracamonte, hasn't he? He's so experienced. Trying to go wide there. There's shots that might find the opening for McKean.
It's the conditioning of Bracamonte at a career heaviest or thereabouts that will potentially come into question as this fight progresses. And of course, speed would have been paramount as part of a game plan to try and close McKean down, and his imperative is pretty obvious in that first round, keeping things long, sharp long singles, and he landed plenty of them in those first 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think setting the pace could be crucial for McKean here as well. We can see Bracamonte not in the best condition, so I think trying to set the pace, get behind that jab, put your shots together. Doesn't need to be moving back as much. Just caught with a right hand there from Bracamonte, but in the hole, box nicely behind that jab. Just get a bit wider with the shots. We see him having a bit more success.
Mark Seltzer on the left of the screen, just applying the Vaseline, one of the best cutsmen in the business. Peter Sims top right, and of course Tony Sims, who has guided your career, Darren, and is guiding yours, Joe, as well. A good man in the corner, not many better. And away we go into the second of 8. Bracamonte, just a stiff jab over the top of McKean's, but the Australian now back in centre ring.
Yeah, throwing the jab like he means it as well, really snapping it out. Love the variation of it. Look, jab and body. He's looking for that wide left hook there.
Just overreached with it. Yeah, he got tagged on the return there. Just a little reminder. Dave Allen, of course, well, he was a far less elusive target than McKean is proven to be in these early stages, but he said, I could rarely remember being hit harder than he hit me. And I suppose whatever shape he's in, when you have got 300 pounds turning through the shots, you are going to feel them in those gloves. And I never remember seeing a fight hit Dave Allen's face as bad as it was after that fight. He was really busted up And McKean really, I think, if he boxes sensibly, he can make lighter work of this man, but he again just caught with the right hand on the counter.
Yeah, he's got to set those shots up, get behind the jab. He was just wild with that hook there. I think the jab's key at the minute. Variation with it, try and break Bracamonte down with the shot. Body shots as well, I think tapping upstairs, dropping downstairs. You can see, like I touched on before, there are heavyweights out there in better shape, and that was a good short left hook.
You see Peter Sims there just saying, what's the backhand coming over? He just comes around the side with that, and it's a weighty punch and it's wild, but you don't want to get caught with it flush. Good spell from McKean, though.
He's adjusted, though, Bracamonte. He just threw a left hook, Demsey McKean, and he managed to get the backhand to cover the shot. Bracamonte fired back with his own right hook.
Although he's winning the exchanges, Joe, you will be feeling the kind of physical presence and the weight of Bracamonte. He's constantly just inching forwards.
Yeah, I think Bracamonte is just waiting for him to let his hands go and trying to catch him with a wild counter. But I think Dempsey's boxing lovely. Them right hooks around the side, I think, are working, and as long as he just keeps it long and on the ones and twos, I think he'll be a short night's work for him.
Dillian Whyte brought him over in preparation originally for Otto Wallin, but I dare say he would be not bad preparation for Tyson Fury in the sense that they're around the same height, and Fury, of course, does switch hit, and you never really know what he's going to do. It wouldn't be a bad option to just have some southpaw sparring in the bank with someone of the kind of height and reach that he has in preparation for what is undoubtedly the biggest fight of Whyte's career in a few weeks' time at Wembley Stadium. But good work from McKean, and he's attested to he's never had as much sparring as this last 6 months in his whole career, and that he really feels it has brought him on to no end. Just not as much high-quality sparring in the Southern Hemisphere that there is across Europe now.
Yeah, and you can see there exactly what Joe said. He's looking for the one shot every time Demsey McKean lets his shots go. He's trying to look for that big overhand right. He missed with a couple there, but showing what a tough customer he is. Always trying to walk forward, always closing the ring down. There's that big overhand right Joe touched on, but that was good counter-punching from Demsey McKean. Fired back with 3 unanswered shots. Big deep breath from Bracamonte afterwards. That's the shot there. He was just leaning back on it slightly, just taking a bit of the power away on that shot, but followed it up with a nice straight left down the middle of the guard of Bracamonte.
Did Tony have any heavyweights when you were in the gym, Darren?
Early on there was Mark Potter. He was just sort of coming to the end of his career.
Was he a Repton boy?
Mark Potter wasn't, I think it was West Ham. And there was Andrew Lowe, light heavyweight. There was a few in there. Tony used to throw me in with them when I used to run. But I heard Tony in the corner there just saying, stop getting backed up, leaning back on the ropes. Tony does like you to circle the ring and get back to the centre of the ring. Always try and urge fighters to do that. Don't want to be spending too much time and energy moving around the outskirts of the ring. This is where he wants to be, standing here, letting go those lovely crisp jabs, followed up by the straight left hand. This is better work. Head hunting a bit, just needs to drop down to the body afterwards.
Starting to sit down on those shots, nice straight shots too.
Oh, put them together, lovely.
Side. Yeah, it was lovely, wasn't it?
He had a 1-2 left hook. It was a lovely combination. Managed to get that hook round the guard. I think that's the key to success. Drop down to the body afterwards as well. See Bracamonte still looking for that one shot that Joe pointed out.
Starting to see that wild right coming now, slipping outside of it, and he just coming back with his own counters. Looking in control. Looking like he's just taking control of the tempo of the contest, Demsey McKean. Looking comfortable on the back foot.
Yeah, there's a lovely long right hook to the body there as well. Starting to mix it up a bit with the hooks. Dropping down low. Then you can work back upstairs. Just struggling with the southpaw stance, Bracamonte. He can't get his jab off, and he's trying to load up with that right hand, but obviously you've got a better chance of landing with the backhand when you set it up with a jab, so he's missing an awful lot. It's a good little spell behind the jab from McKean. Oh, lovely left hook.
Great shot.
Just punched at the same time, but McKean got there first. Left-handers. Bracamonte is looking to pull the trigger on the right and just turned his head, but he's got a solid chin. And now McKean has just turned in with his back to the ropes right at the end of the round. Most meaningful shot of the contest so far from Demsey McKean. Bracamonte starting to slow, as we expected that he may do. And he looks well in control at this stage of the contest.
Yeah, it was a beautiful shot. Long left hook at the southpaw stance. He took it well. Like you said, Bracamonte, he's proved time and time again. Very rarely does he get knocked out. It might get stopped on his feet, but he's tough as old boots. He really is. But that was a good round from Demsey McKean, picking the shots well. We see a bit more variation with the hook downstairs. He threw in a couple of uppercuts. It's always a good shot to throw when you're fighting a shorter man.
Yeah, just saw the Argentinian hold on there as well. The signs of him maybe being a little bit buzzed for the first time in the contest. Going to take a little more than that to get rid of him. Maybe 2 or 3 shots of that kind of ferocity and precision to put a real dent in him. But McKean certainly will feel that the contest is now very much in his hands as we enter the 4th round.
He's up in the pace as well now. Demsey McKean start this 4th round, starting to put them together. Trying to really put a dent in Bracamonte.
Yeah, I think he realised he's hurt him, and I think he's up the pace now.
Just in more of a rhythm, isn't he? Turning his man now, boxing around the centre of the ring, holding his feet a little more too.
Yeah. He's enjoying himself now.
Leads with the left hand that time, and these straight shots, well, Bracamonte's kind of got the guard high and central, but they're getting through the middle. And he's only really able to just kind of muffle the impact of them. Another left hand to the body. Just steps off to the right-hand side, McKean. Controlling the distance, controlling the tempo, and in charge of the exchanges. And really, the firepower coming back from Bracamonte is becoming fewer and farther between now. Another big left-hand lands.
That was a good foot placement from Demsey McKean. Then took his step on the outside, and he threw a left hook instead of a straight right, left straight down the middle. But I think getting that foot on the outside would help Demsey McKean to find that left hand. Again, poking the jab out. He's found the distance quite well behind that jab.
Just warning McKean for just holding that lead right hand out, just pinning him there. Some referees let it go, some don't. Bracamonte did complain about it a few minutes ago, and that he said was his 3rd warning from the referee.
Anything you'd like to see McKean doing, Joe?
To be honest, I think he's doing everything that he should be doing. The only point I would pick up on is the circling. I think he should turn the angle quicker, more acute, and get back to the centre and hold the centre. I'd rather him do that than be circling, because he's burning up energy. His opponent, he's just walking him down, trying to get that one shot off. So I think if he just get back to the centre, and then he's got all that room behind him to just step back and pull him onto the shot. So.
Absolutely. All of his best work's coming from the centre of the ring.
Bracamonte trying to get close with 10 seconds on the clock in the 4th. Lands a little short left hook over the top there. McKean just to hold on for a second. End of round 4. Coming up next is the return of Takeley's 6'5" light heavyweight Southpaw, John Hedges. Going through the motions there with his coach Mark Tibbs. He's in action next against Alexander Nagolski. We've seen the debut of Chevron Clark after this as well. Well, Argentina has produced some great fighters over the years, hasn't it? Carlos Monzon, Oscar Benavina, heavyweight slugger. And, of course, you fought one of the greats as well. I see you grinning at me then. Please mention Sergio Martinez.
No, I wasn't. I still having headaches from it.
He set that up lovely.
Yeah, he just pays me a fixed fee every week just to put some compliments in there.
Well, I lost that fight.
You did very well. You did very well.
Cheers, mate.
But right now, Ariel Bracamonte isn't doing too well against Demsey McKean, struggling to close that gap, and found himself on the end of long straight shots. Slammed a jab over the top of McKean's there. Is the right hand just a little low?
Yeah, he's not cutting the ring off, is he, Bracamonte? He's following, you know, he's managing to push Demsey McKean back. He's not cutting the ring down, but this is good work. This is where he has most of his success, McKean, when he's on the front foot, working behind that beautiful jab, following it up, head and body with that left hand.
You can see him, Bracamonte, getting really frustrated.
That's a long jab from McKean.
We've not given him the opportunity, has he, to, at this kind of distance, really dog it out with him and turn it into a bit of a street fight, which is his speciality, really. McKean's done the sensible thing. Kept it long, kept it disciplined. And Bracamonte has had, as we suspected that he might not, no answer for it.
I think a nice uppercut after that long left, right to the body would have gone down a treat. Where you work them hooks to the body, the guard does come wide, so following the body shots up with an uppercut is always a good option.
I think the steam has gone out of Bracamonte too, even when he does get close. The hands are laboured now.
Yeah, they're heavy shots, but they're arm shots, and Demsey can see him coming, can take the sting out of the shot. But again, just getting backed up. A bit too easy for me. Just turning around, there's that uppercut. Beautiful shot, followed by a straight left down the middle. But that was a good little flurry of shots there from McKean. It was a very good fight when he puts his hands together, McKean. Flashy combinations, head and body, good variation.
Yeah, and he's progressed through the combinations at a sensible rate too. Hasn't let them go too early when the danger is potentially still there. Just waited until he knows that the threat has been, well, it's always ever present at heavyweight, but it's been pretty much as neutralised as it could be in this contest. And he's confident now that he can start putting the 4s and the 5s together.
Yeah, I think he knew he could catch him with them combinations early on, but he wasn't being too greedy. And like you said, I think he's progressed through the rounds, throwing them combinations, and he's throwing them at the right time now. So yeah.
Well, we could see what Tony Sims was mimicking there, Darren, and you haven't forgotten what he taught you.
No, absolutely not. Look, when you're going wide with a hook, especially around the body, you're bringing your arms back to protect yourself from their body shots, and that obviously opens up the guard. So the shot then is a shot straight down the middle, and when you're in that position where your knees are dipped and you're throwing the body shot, to come back up with an uppercut is the perfect shot. And I expect now Demsey McKean to start trying to find that against a shorter man.
So into the 6th round, McKean has not lost one so far, in full control at distance of Ariel Bracamonte. Just landed that backhand to the body off the right hand to the head. Bracamonte trying to punch off a slip there, but again just stayed a little too long and walked into the combination. McKean straight back to centre ring, where you guys have been asking for him to try and hold his ground. There's no value in trying to out-macho somebody who outweighs you by about 40 pounds in a contest like this. He's done the sensible thing. He's held his ground at sensible points, sat down on shots at the right time, Darren, but also not been too macho to give up ground, move off and hold the space on the back foot.
No, he's done the right thing. I just, you know, a little bit too much circling of the ring, but he has been smart with his attacks. I think there's another way that you could draw the lead out. That's the feint. We talk about this all the time. He's looking to trade Bracamonte, so a little feint to try and get him to lead off and find the shots. That was a good head movement from Bracamonte, moving on the outside, missing the shot from McKean, but not being able to fire back with anything. He's just one step behind Demsey McKean at the minute, or throughout the contest rather.
Thudding shots to the body there, and a stiff jab behind it as well, but Bracamonte just continues to inch forwards.
Mixes up the pace and the power well, Demsey McKean as well. He doesn't load up with everything. He'll poke the shots out, he'll tap them out, a little flurry, free, then he'll drop a heavy one down to the body, as he does there. That's something that can't really be taught. See, with some fighters, they either don't carry power, or if they do, they try and load up all the time. So it's good to mix it up, speed and pace and power.
Just the reddening now on the bridge of the nose and welts under both the eyes of Ariel Bracamonte. Just the marks of a consistent and sustained attack from Demsey McKean over the best part of 6 rounds here at the O2. There'll be more heavyweight action a little bit later on. Another man from Ipswich, but not Ipswich in Queensland, Ipswich in the UK. Fabio Wardley back in action against 6'7" Daniel Marks after 9 months out of the ring for the British fighter. And like McKean, he too looking to prove that he has credentials to mix it at world level in the coming months and years.
Yeah, great combination. Bracamonte with a great, was it 1-2, right hook to the body. I'm sure he can back up with an uppercut too.
He's using that forearm there just to pin the guard as well. Little smart tricks on the inside. See it there again on the replay.
Yeah, it strikes me as if Demsey McKean's in there and he's enjoying himself. He's going through the motions, not really had to bite down on his gum shield at all. You touched on it, Chris, not taking any unnecessary risks. Just enjoying it. There's not many times that you get to enjoy yourself in a boxing ring. It's tough, it's hard, it's horrible. And sometimes when things are going your way, you can sort of go into autopilot and just, like I say, enjoy yourself.
Yeah, you can see he's enjoying himself now. The first couple of rounds, you can see he was a bit wary of what's coming, but I think now he's gone on to what his opponent's throwing back now.
Yeah, it's been clinical and controlled as he knew it needed to be. It's really a keep busy fight for him that he was expected to control from start to finish, and I guess he would have sensed in the early stages that he maybe wasn't going to get rid of his man, and so had to just break him up as best he can. And he is going through the gears here, Demsey McKean.
Yeah, he found the, I think it was the left uppercut there. It was a lovely shot, a short, sharp shot. Inside.
Right hand from Bracamonte. Just throwing it off the slip to the left.
Yeah, I'd like to see him throw that left uppercut a little bit more. He's every time he threw, he's landed.
Just getting a little careless there. Caught with a jab on the way in as well, McKean. Just nod of acknowledgement as Bracamonte just cuts him off there. Lands a couple of cupping shots over the top, then a right hand.
There must have been many a fighter out there that have damaged their hands on Bracamonte's head. I'm telling you, he really is a tough nut.
Yeah, many fighters that have made it a much more difficult night's work of him than Demsey McKean has. He doesn't stop coming forward, very hard to deter and put a dent in, and he is heavy-handed as well.
Good combination. Right to the body, left to the body, followed up with a left uppercut. Really, really smart combination. Listening to the instructions of Tony Sims in the corner.
How easy is it to hear Tony when you're in a ring? I know obviously now at this kind of stage of the night where there's very few in the arena, and of course during the lockdown things were different, but what about when the crowds are a little busier?
Do you know what? I don't know if Joe's the same or other boxers are the same as me, but I was in sync. I'd been with Tony for so long that there were certain voices that I could hear in the crowd. Tony obviously being one. I'd always hear Mike Seltzer giving me a countdown with the clock, and I'd hear my dad and my family, but other than that it was muffled noise, so I never struggled to hear the instructions of Tony in the corner.
Does that sound familiar to you, Joe?
It's spot on. It's exactly the same as me. Tony in my corner, he's the only voice I hear, and I hear my mother, my father, and a couple of people that are always there at ringside for my fight. So, yeah, that's spot on.
Well, he's heeded the instructions really well through 7 rounds. Demsey McKean, 1 to go here on Before the Bell, before we see Takeless John Hedges in action. But he's been in full control. He just took a couple of shots at the beginning of that round. Jab over the top, a couple of right hands off the little head slip from Bracamonte, just jabbing a little higher than McKean was because he was holding that right hand a little low.
Yeah, and that can happen, you know, like I said, the previous round looked like he's enjoying himself, and you can switch off ever so slightly, and that's the danger. And Bracamonte did land a couple of shots, and though there was no real sting in him, it will annoy him. He doesn't want to be taking any unnecessary shots, but then you see the good variation from McKean there. That was a nice, took his head off centre line and threw the left hand, and previous to that, working the body well, bringing the shots upstairs. Nice, you know, good stuff from McKean. I'm sure he'd love to get the stoppage, but so far so good.
Well, plenty of the stable have come out to watch Conor Benn ringside. Craig Richards there as well. And Felix Cash, who, well, made his return after a very difficult year last year and by the skin of his teeth got through a really, really tough fight at Alexandra Palace a couple of weeks ago, but we know he is better than that, and he'll be looking to show that later on this year. Nice 1-2 there from Demsey McKean. Comes around the side with the left hand that time. Bracamonte, just a little spring in his step, I guess, because he knows that he's got 2.5 minutes to try and turn this fight on its head. He knows he's got the power to do so. It's just whether he can get into range as he just slings a right hand at anything he can.
Yeah, just telegraphing everything. Doing the right thing, trying to back his man up and having success at times, but just not able to find the target. Just lack of speed and accuracy. Demsey McKean, again, just poking that jab out, head and body. Like I said at the top of this fight, very nimble for a big guy. Does move his feet well.
Yeah,
it's not an effort, is it, Joe?
You don't see many big fellas like him moving the way he does. So, yeah, I think Tony and Peter, they've got someone special here. I think obviously he needs to have a couple of meaningful fights, and I think potentially down the line he can win a world title.
Yeah, division in transition, isn't it? The big 3 or 4, whichever way you look at them. Usyk, Fury, Joshua, all coming towards their mid-30s now, and with chapters in their careers to wrap up against each other in the next 18 months to 2 years, we hope. And then there is another chasing pack on the way through, and he will be wanting to be part of this. He's 11th with the WBO. The IBF at the moment says he wants someone ahead of him to bolster his rankings and put him in a good position. Options ahead of him, guys like Ajit Kaboyel, Charles Martin, but it's tough after that. You need to get past somebody like Filip Ergovic, Tony Yoka, Luis Ortiz, or maybe even Big Joe Joyce to clear a path towards a world title. And, well, none of those really are easy or favourable options. So he's going to have to be the goods, Darren. There'll be no easy routes to a world title for him.
There's some real big names there, some real stars and future stars. I think for me, for McKean, it's about knowing when to plant your feet. I think in the heavyweight division, you've got to be able to hurt your opponent. You have to. You're not going to be able to coast against these good guys, so you need to know when to plant your feet and let the shots go with real meat and power to put a dent in these top-class fighters. And I've just seen a bit too much movement, though he does move really, really well. I think at times he could have really put a dent in Bracamonte, but so far it's been a successful 8 rounds win for McKean. He would have learned a lot from it, and onwards and upwards.
Yeah, very comfortable win. I think he'd be happy with the rounds, but also at the same time, I think he would have wanted a stoppage towards the end. So, yeah, it was a good win.
Well, credit to Bracamonte, who didn't really have much of a reverse gear at any point in that contest, kept marching forward, kept absorbing the shots and trying as he could, but he was overmatched in the end, and Demsey McKean rolls on to 21-0 now. And it's that a new crop coming through, the likes of Dubois, who he's been sparring with, Fabian Wardley, Sol Dakers, who will no doubt see Justice Tooney as well, Ivan Ditchko, and of course the United States, Jared Anderson, who here is coming over to spar with Tyson Fury in preparation for Dillian White. A good crop of fighters, and he is part of them at heavyweight. And some good exchanges early on, but he didn't take too many risks in the early stages, Darren.
No, I mean, look, it was a similar pattern, I think, from first to last. I think we see Dempsey enjoy it by this stage. Was moving, but put the shots together well. Lovely straight left down the middle there. Started working the body well, and then starting to introduce the uppercut as the rounds went on. It was a good display, it really was. Good shot selection. 8 solid rounds under the belt against a real tough opponent who is always value for money, always trying to push his opponent back, always trying to force the action, but that was good work to the body. The variation was impressive from Demsey McKean, Chris.
Yeah, I think Bracamonte may well be back to test 1 or 2 other prospects in the coming months. You can log that for sure. Well, the fighters are standing now by the ringside with the referee for the official particulars, so let's head over now, without further ado, to our MC, Joe Martinez.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, after 8 rounds, we go to the referee scorecard. Lee Every scores this contest 80-72 for your winner by unanimous decision, and still undefeated, Demsey McKean.
Demsey McKean moves on to 21-0 here at the O2. He can settle in and enjoy the rest of the action tonight. We hope you can as well. Plenty to come here on The Zone. Next up,